I'm Dave Kaiser from CCX Media. Thanks for joining us for this special COVID-19 update. Joining us, State Senator Ann Ress. Ann, welcome once again. Thanks for being with us today.
You're more than welcome.
We want to update people on some of the things that are happening locally, but also at the state level. And first, let's talk about some of the things that are hanging on that were completed during the regular session, what the outlook looks like for the regular session and completing some of those things. And some are very important to COVID-19, obviously, and how the state is managed. Unwrap that for us a little bit if you can, Ann.
Well, there were some major hang-ups and lack of communication, if you will, as well as some partisan differences on what the best way was to conclude the session. And so the result of that was that we did not get a bonding bill. We did not get a capital investment bill. Everybody seemed to want one, but we just couldn't get there. And then we also did not have a tax relief bill that many of us, and I work especially in tax policy, were interested in providing appropriate tax relief to taxpayers, particularly some that are really disproportionately hit by COVID-19. Mm-hmm. And also we did not resolve the issue of authority for spending the COVID-19 funds. Right now, that is still in the hands of the administration, Governor Walz and his agency heads, and the legislature has been looking for an appropriate way to participate in those decisions, and we have yet to find it. I hope that when we need to have a special session in the middle of June dealing with the governor's emergency powers, and I hope that we can resolve all three of those things when we meet at that time.
Very good. And some of the things from the last week, and again, Senator Ress has been doing quite a bit of work updating people through email on some things that are important for residents in the area to know. And one was the Stay Safe Minnesota Phase 2. So in a nutshell, if you can, tell us about that next move that took place last week and what that means for people in the Northwest suburban area and throughout the state.
Well, Governor Walz has always talked about the opening of the Minnesota's economy as turning a dial rather than a toggle switch, rather than just off and on. Right. And so he has now moved that dial a little bit more to opening. And my constituents can look forward to, on June 1st, the outside opening for restaurants. And I think that it plays a little bit differently in different parts of the state. In our communities, it's going to be possible for restaurants to use sidewalks or to use parking lots. They have to be outside. And in other parts of the state, like in the north, it might still be a bit chilly, right, to have outside venues or too windy if it's along Lake Superior. But I think we're working toward that, and we do know that other types of businesses are reopening, not yet salons nor gyms, but others are really beginning to return to the, I guess it is a return. It's a return to the new normal. How are we going to do things differently now?
And one other area that was talked about quite a bit last week were places of worship, also funeral chapels and places you do weddings. What can you tell us about some of those moves on the dial?
There were discussions between religious leaders, some religious leaders, and the governor, and they resolved the challenges so that there will be able to be in-person worship services or religious services of a number of kinds, weddings, funerals, as well as weekly services. And it will be up to the religious leaders and their congregations of whether they indeed embark on that. There were very serious differences of opinions among religious leaders about whether we should go to in-person services quite this soon. But the governor worked with some religious leaders, and particularly the archdiocese, and did determine that that was going to be made available under some very, very strict guidelines. We'll see whether we are able in those congregations to see evidence of social distancing, of wearing masks, and keeping those congregations that gather healthy, and that they don't succumb to COVID-19.
Two final points that we want to touch on. One relates to testing on a statewide level, and then also on a local level here. There was a big push for some testing over this past weekend. What have you heard from that? And what have you heard about testing here in the local area?
Well, there have been opening now a number of stations across the state where people can go and get tested for COVID-19. And they don't have to necessarily have displayed serious symptoms, just concern because of exposure, etc. It would be more or less the individual person's decision, rather than having to go to an emergency room. So we're pleased that one of those sites is in Robbinsdale, just next to North Memorial Hospital, and we have learned about that from the city of Robbinsdale, that area citizens and residents can avail themselves of that testing site.
And that site again is the North Memorial outpatient facility,
That's
which
correct.
is right next to the Hy-Vee grocery store, if people know that parking
That's
lot.
correct. Right.
And you can go in on the backside by France is where that is located.
That's,
Senator Rest, one other local note we wanted to touch on was the New Hope pool. And I know a lot of people were anticipating this, and you and others did a lot of hard work on the front end to make sure this would happen. Indeed. What is the latest you can tell us?
Well, the city council, I think, made a wise decision, a judicious decision, and decided that now is not the time, and that they have delayed the opening of the pool at least until next summer. As others have noted as well, there's been a difficulty in what the proper training would be for lifeguards at area pools, and whether they can even not just do that job, but would they be violating social distancing in even getting the training. So it's a double-edged sword. I think they made the right decision, although it is a disappointment to New Hope residents and residents of the communities that the pool would serve, in particular swimmers who are in training for the Olympics.
Well, Senator Rest, we thank you again for all of the information, and for residents who are interested. And again, you see the website on the bottom of the screen where you can go to get on the email list and some of the ongoing updates that the Senator has been working on. I think, are you up in the 60s for updates now? The march continues on.
Today is number 47.
47, all right. Well, we'll get to 60, unfortunately, probably rather quickly
I
here.
think we will.
Thank you again for your time today, and we look to talk to you again soon, Senator.
You're very welcome.
Learn more about The Connection at ccxmedia.org and follow us on social media.